What is good, Tesla family? It's Ray J back with another video, and in this one I'm going to be talking about the one and only Tesla stock and what you should be looking out for the future. I'm also going to give you guys my price prediction for tomorrow and talk about what you should be anticipating because tomorrow is the big day. Tesla had their Q1 earnings report, so I am going to give you guys a little preview for that as well and help you understand what we should be expecting. And I'm also going to compare the price action that Tesla had in the past during a quarterly earnings reports and how this is actually very similar to what we're seeing right now. I'm also going to talk about what's the man, the myth, the legend himself, Elon Musk, liked on his Twitter page. That's very important for Tesla's future. Now, before I break any of this down, before I talk about the earnings and what my price prediction is for tomorrow, I do have to mention a couple of very important things first. The first thing is I'm not a financial planner, so please don't take this as financial advice. And also, if you guys can, please smash the like button if you want to see more videos like this. Not only benefits me, benefits the entire Tesla community as a whole. And the last thing is, if you guys can, please check out the Moomoo link down below and in the description. If you sign up for Moomoo with the link down below and deposit $100, you're going to qualify for up to 6 free stocks, each worth up to $3,500. Once again, that's free money. And you could always sell these 6 free stocks for cash and use that cash to buy some Tesla stock for free. So if you want this offer, please check it out because it ends in just 2 weeks. With that out of the way, let's get on with the video. So looking at Tesla, we had a pretty darn good day today, up 2.38% for the day. We essentially beat the market, but that's typical for Tesla. I want to talk about this right here. So in my previous video, I made my prediction and I told you guys I saw Tesla running around that 1025 range, getting hit by some resistance, and I predicted that we'd break past it temporarily, then drop below it. And I predicted we'd end up closing around that 1020 range, maybe a tiny bit higher, around 1022. We ended up closing around 1028, which is even better. And it just goes to show the resistance at 1025 and 1022 did not hold us back. And we are looking actually a lot more bullish for tomorrow. We are seeing some spikes in bullish volume as well, especially during that opening. You guys can see it right here. I think it's a little bit hard to see, but we can see that the volume did kind of like pick up. So it's looking a lot better for Tesla, and that's a pretty good thing that we're seeing. So Tesla does look like it wants to run tomorrow, and I am actually very bullish for that. Now, this is one of those rare days where technical analysis does not matter as much because this thing is running based off the excitement, the hype, and the anticipation of news because earnings are quite exciting. Typically, Tesla can announce something big. There could be times where they don't announce anything too surprising, right? That's the big difference. So I want to talk about that real quick. So let's look at this that we're forming. We formed this W-like shape. We got that double bottom. And typically when stocks form this, the second end of it is a little bit higher, and that's an indicator that we are ready to start pushing to the upside. So we are respecting this upward trend. If you look at the 1 minute candles, you guys can see we're just going up and up and up since we hit that bottom, and we're starting to show a lot more strength than before. So that's a pretty good thing that we're seeing right here. This upward trend is perpetuating, and I am pretty bullish now that we actually found strong support above that 1020 range. So before I get into more details about the technical indicators and where I see this thing going, I want you to actually look at this. So this right here is Tesla's chart from the past. This was during their Q4 earnings report, which was reported on the 26th of January of this year. Remember, Tesla was on a downward trend. And I also made a previous video about this. I'm sure some of you remember that. We dropped, right, 2 days before it. And then as the 2 days approached, we started running. We went from, what is that? $851 all the way up to over $964 a share within 2 days. That's a pretty significant move to the upside, but the earnings was fantastic for Q4. I mean, Tesla just killed it in every way, shape, or form possible. But the problem was they didn't necessarily surprise investors. So after the stock did end up dumping, it was also because of current market conditions. So it's not just Tesla alone, but that is something to keep on your minds. If Tesla does not announce anything that's too surprising, it is possible for us to take a bit of a hit after earnings. That is something that we should be on the lookout for, but I can't make that claim until we get the data. But anyways, one last time, we did start to run up until the day of earnings. We got a nice green day, this nice gap up, and it was looking very, very strong on that day. So that is what I think is going to happen. What happens after depends on what is announced. So right now, we're seeing this upward trend that is continuing. And I do believe Tesla is going to keep on running to the upside. So, where are we going to run? And this is one of those moments where I'm not going to just use technical analysis because we're just running and running and running. We have this gap right here. I'm going to actually pinpoint this. I know there are lots of lines. Just give me 1 second. There's a gap around, I think that's 1056. Yeah, 1056 around there, 1057 right there. Let's make this a different color, like let me see, purple. Let's make it purple so it's easy for you guys to end up seeing. Going up here, I expect Tesla to fill this gap tomorrow. However, that's just a 2% move to the upside. I mean, I'm very confident we're going to break past that tomorrow. The question is, we're going to have resistance around this yellow line right here. That's the $1,070 range. Can we break past that? That to me, it's going to be a little bit tough, but it's very possible for us to actually break past that because it only requires like a 2.5 to 3% move to the upside. We could easily break that. Now, what's a realistic target and what is also possible? The key thing to be looking out for is this gap right here, and that is the 1090 range. That's going to be a 6% move to the upside. It's going to be difficult. That doesn't mean it's impossible. It just means it's going to be tricky for us to actually move that high. So, right here, 1090, this purple line, that's a key level to be looking out for. The three key levels are 1056. I think we could break that. I'm not sure if we're going to break past 1070, but I'm going to be very optimistic because we do have to kind of throw some logic down the drain right now because we are running on excitement and we could push as high as 1090 and fill this gap right here if we are lucky. And it's very possible we could just touch 1100 just temporarily before kind of dropping after. So, what's my price prediction? Here's what I think is going to happen. I think we're going to soar past 1056. That's just a 2% move. There's going to be a lot of excitement, and we're going to be hit by resistance at 1070. So we might get a rejection from there, a bounce off 1056. And by midday, it's very possible we push a total of like 6%. I know it's tricky. I know I can't guarantee that, but I do believe it's possible, and it's very possible for us to fill this gap up here to 1090, and we could end up closing maybe a little bit below that, around that 1070 to 1080 mark. That is where we may end up closing. Now, depending on what is announced during the earnings, we may continue to run, or we could fall after that. Obviously, downside is a little bit more probable unless they surprise us, but here's the easiest way to look at this. The key levels, you need to pay very close attention to these key levels. 1056 is a gap fill. I do think we're going to soar past that. Like I said, 1070 is going to be key resistance. It's going to be a little bit tough for us to break past that, but I do believe it's possible, and I have a lot of faith and conviction in this play. We are seeing some spikes in bullish volume, so it's very possible we break past 1070. And like I predicted, we could end up filling this gap, and we're most likely going to fill this gap if we break past 1070 and manage to actually hold above there for some time. That would be a 6% move to the upside. I can't guarantee that, but I do think that that's going to happen. It's just my prediction. And then once we fill that gap, we could touch the 1100 range, then drop after that and end up closing around that 1070 to 1080 mark. So that's my prediction. Very key zones. You need to pay very close attention to them. And I also want to talk about technical indicators, even though I know they're not going to be as accurate. Right now, the reason I said they're not as accurate is because we're not running based off technicals. We're running based off this earnings report. But right now, it still looks pretty bullish. We're seeing this upward trend that is perpetuating. RSI picked up at 55.16. So it's looking pretty darn good. We are seeing a lot more bullish volume. I also want to talk about these EMAs real quick. Let me actually bring this out just real quick because when you look at the chart over this different trend, I could actually use 1 minute candles for this. Right here, you could see the 200 moving average is well below where we've been running over the last couple of hours of the day. And that just shows that we have been perpetuating on a bit of an upward trend. I mean, if you break it down using like the 2 hour candles, you're seeing the same thing. It's looking pretty darn bullish right now. I mean, to me, it's looking really good. We're getting this nice curl. So, like I said before, pretty bullish going into tomorrow. Be prepared for anything. And I'm very excited. But once again, we could end up dropping depending on what is announced. So, what should you be looking out for that's very important? There are five predictions for the Tesla Q1 earnings. The first one is right here, the master plan number three. This is going to be their very ambitious master plan. This is where they're going to talk about how they're going to essentially scale to the extreme and really, really make it through these hard times where we're still seeing the supply constraints still hurting companies all over the world. And there are many people out there that believe that Tesla is still going to be scaling and growing and generating more cash. So it's very important that they discuss this and mention how they're going to improve their business model still and what their master plan is. Now, Elon Musk hasn't talked too much about it yet, but we may see a lot more talk about the AI incorporation in this master plan, which is massive. And also, Elon Musk did like a tweet about that. So I'm going to talk about that in a few minutes. It's very important. The second thing is the delivery and product outlook. We need to see what on earth is going to be their production outlook. How are they going to keep on scaling? And we already have a very good idea considering the innovation that came from the new Texas Gigafactory. So we want to see what their projections are. That's going to be very important. Their deliveries too, because of the fact that we have these supply chain issues. How are they going to be affected by it? And also based off what's happening in China, I do think that needs to be mentioned too. So we really want to see how that plays out. They may kind of surprise us with some very good numbers. Things are still looking very good. Competition is a big thing I think people are looking out for. I don't know if they're going to go into too much detail about this because we know how big this company is, but we are seeing a lot of other big companies like VW, Mercedes, Ford, Toyota as well, and GM now entering this electric vehicle race. That's going to be big for Tesla because of the fact that this is big news because Tesla in turn is a global competitor. And when they compete with these big companies, it could affect the opportunity cost of their growth. It could have some sort of effect on how they actually end up playing in this field. So they may end up acknowledging this. I really hope they do. Even if they don't, it still is something very important they need to be looking out for. Other things are revenue drivers, which I think is pretty big for the company. We're going to find out what on earth, how well they did, how well did their numbers come out to be, and also how we expect them to do considering inflation and supply chain issues. That was mentioned many times, so we just be on the lookout for that. The last major thing is the full self-driving beta. We're going to find out some new, uh, you know, they're going to talk about the revenue that's going to be brought in because of it, and also how much progress they are making and where the future outlook appears to be. So be on the lookout for that. That's a major, major thing. And this is also something Elon Musk did like on his Twitter page. So he liked this tweet from Whole Mars Catalog that stated that Tesla's full self-driving beta is the biggest business and technology story nobody is talking about. And ARK Invest also made an estimate that I believe autonomous driving is going to be an 11 to 12 trillion dollar market for the future. I definitely agree with that metric, and that's one of the main reasons why Kathy Wood is so bullish for Tesla and gave her new estimate yesterday. So it just goes to show that this company is incredibly huge, and a lot of people often trivialize how amazing, how huge and enormous the full self-driving beta is. And that's why I often talk about this in this channel. Every single day I mention this essentially. So it's so important that we get updates on this because this is going to be a multi-trillion dollar market and a very huge revenue driving factor for Tesla for the future. But anyways, with that said and done, like I said before, I'm very bullish. Depending on what is announced, we could get that drop. But regardless of any of this, we're still very bullish for the long term. I'm still very excited for what this company achieves. And be ready. I gave you guys my prediction. It may not always be correct or 100% accurate. So don't just trade based off that. Do your own DD and research too. And if you want to trade, always pay attention to the chart in real time and look at technical indicators. With that out of the way, Tesla's looking amazing. I'm still very excited and bullish, and I can't wait for what the future holds. I thank you all for listening. Have a great rest of the day and get ready for tomorrow because Tesla has their big earnings report. Thank you and peace out.